But I was watching it. I avoided.
Hopefully everybody had a great 4th of July yesterday. My neighborhood was very noisy. Anyway, my name is Karen Dunmore, and I am your platform assistant today, and it is my pleasure to greet you and say welcome. For those here in the sanctuary, as well as those watching online, we affirm that we are all one in spirit. I wish to acknowledge Sandra Marlowe and Chris Kohut on the drums, who will be providing our music today, and our guest, well, not really guest speaker, but our speaker, Dana Zahler, whose talk title is Finding Joy, and I can hardly wait to find where it's been hiding lately. So I've known Dana for a long time. Special thanks also to our media team, Byron Schluter and Shane Stevenson. Please join me in prayer. Sweet Spirit, we open our hearts to receive you. We greet this day centered in God and in the knowledge that we are all one in the Spirit of the Christ. Let us reside in this consciousness so that we may each become an individual expression of the love of God. We envision sending forth that love out into the world, seeing this love being extended out to our Unity community, to the city of Spokane, and out across the globe. We honor all those who worship on this day, no matter what religion, for we know that there are many paths to God, but there is only one God. In the warm and loving spirit of unity, we say thank you, God, and amen. So I invite you to find a comfortable position and put your body in whatever way you can while Sandra plays our pre-meditation song, and prepare ourselves for meditation.
Keep the flame burning in my heart, God, in my heart, God, in my heart, God. Keep the flame burning in my heart, God, the flame of joy and peace. Keep the love glowing in my heart, God, in my heart, God, in my heart, God. Keep the love glowing in my heart, God, the love for one and all. Keep the peace flowing in my life, God, in my life, God, in my life, God. Keep the peace flowing in my life, God, and share this peace with all. Keep the peace flowing in my life, God, in my life, God, in my life, God. Keep the peace flowing in my life, God, and share this peace with all. And share this peace with all. Love and peace for all.
So let us prepare for our meditation. We begin by just breathing. Just allow yourself to be relaxed. Feel yourself supported completely in your chair and your feet firmly on the floor. And just continue to notice your breathing. Breathing is something we don't have to force. It's a natural process. And so too, it is natural for us to commune with our God source, to become centered, to become aware of only one thing, only God. So as we continue to breathe deeply, inhaling and slowly exhaling, allow each breath to take you to a deeper state of relaxation. As we let go of anything we have a need to control, we let go of our thoughts. We let go of any concerns, any burdens that we're carrying. And we breathe into only peace, only love, only joy. So I invite you to take a journey in your mind with me. And picture yourself in a beautiful garden. This is a garden that's very familiar to you. It's a place where you go frequently, or perhaps it's a garden of your youth that you recall. So see yourself surrounded by the beauty. Feel the moisture in the air. Hear the birds singing. Smell the fragrance of the foliage, the wonderful flowers, the beautiful colors. This space was created for you. And God is waiting here for you, always available, always present. So imagine as though it's early in the morning. If you feel comfortable, allow yourself to open your hands, open your arms. Imagine as though you were greeting the day, and picture the sun gently coming up over the mountaintop, and you envision this stream of white light just illuminating you, only you, in your comfortable chair. And you begin to feel a vibration. It's like a slow, steady drum beat, almost like a heartbeat. And before long, it's as though you can actually hear the sound of this heart beating. This is the heart of the earth. And you are a part of it. You are a part of all that is. You are a part of this wonderful surrounding. And you are a part of the beating heart of God. I invite you to envision yourself rising and feeling this groundedness in the earth, feeling that pulsing heartbeat coming up through your feet and rising up into your heart space. And feel this vibration, this sense of oneness. What a powerful place this is. You feel the need to just begin to move. Your feet begin moving as though you are keeping the pulse of this beating heart. And you are moving in time to that vibration. Feel it as though this is a tribal experience. You become like that drum. that is beating in tune with the very heart of Mother Earth. And you begin to feel this sense of joy rising up through you. And as your energetic presence increases, so too you feel the energy of this beautiful garden changing, becoming in sync with your very presence, becoming one with this same heartbeat. And it's as though you can see these plants, these flowers opening up and bending toward you. You can see it's as though the trees are growing fast enough for you to envision that very growth. And everything is teeming with life. This life of God. Yet there is only one here. There is only one presence. And this is all one activity in sync with the entire universe. And you are an integral part of all that is. Just feel this sense of gratitude that fills your entire being. Just allow yourself to take a couple more deep breaths and just feel as though it's palpable, this feeling of gratitude, this feeling of oneness. It's powerful enough to bring tears to your eyes. You are overcome with joy. Now notice a sense of fullness in your spirit. This wholeness, indeed, holiness, that has overcome your entire being. Your holiness blesses the world. The love in you is blessing everyone around, everything in your presence. The place on which you stand is holy ground. Indeed, you are whole and holy right now. You are whole and filled with joy to overflowing. I invite you now in the silence to just envision your joy overflowing and bringing forth a whole new world. Your joy is overflowing in the silence. As you bring your awareness back to this physical place and you feel this energetic presence, continue to see this joy literally bubbling forth from you as though you are a fountain bringing forth joy and love and sharing it with your entire universe, sharing with all of those whom you encounter, sharing it with the entire community of Spokane. And see that love pouring forth from your God center and filling the world with love and peace and joy. My holiness blesses the earth. Your holiness blesses the earth. See that vision for yourself as you continue to resonate in this beating heart of the center of God. My holiness blesses the earth. Share that affirmation with me together. My holiness blesses the earth. And again, my holiness blesses the earth. And when you reside in this space of joy, your holiness becomes infectious. Your holiness is shared with all those you encounter, bringing joy to all you see. Your holiness blesses the earth. And so it is. Amen.
I am a child of this universe. The ocean dances at my feet. The wind plays a melody through my hair. I am loved at every turn. I am kissed by Mother Earth. I am a child of this universe. The sun warms me in its embrace. The stars have aligned for me in the sky. I am honored by all life. I am held by Father Time. Every blade of grass, every shaking leaf on a tree, every mountain top sings of the glory of God moving through me. I am a child of this universe. Through my breath, all of life can breathe. I plant the seeds with my every dream. I can love at every turn. Give a kiss to Mother Earth. Yes, I am a child of this universe. I greet the God in each face. I am a channel for peace to flow. Oh, I honor all of life. Yes, I'm one with Father Time. To every blade of grass, to every shaking leaf on a tree, to every mountain top, I sing of the glory of God moving through all, moving as me.
Thank you. I love this slide. I am a child of the universe. And thank you, Dana, for your wonderful meditation. I'll remember. I wrote it down. My holiness blesses the earth. And I wrote it in my book, so I'll see it all week in my calendar. Anyway, that was wonderful. So, let us all share our church decree together. Beloved Mother, Father God, we open our hearts to be filled with divine love and our minds to be filled with divine light. Divine love and divine light now move through our center, guiding and protecting us, our families, neighbors, and friends. Divine love and divine light now draw to us people, situations, opportunities, and activities that bless and are in harmony with truth and love. Together, we are touching hearts and transforming lives. Amen. Now read this part. Okay. Now I invite you to stand. Oh. Okay. Let us recognize the Christ in these world leaders and affirm our decree for all people together. The light and love of God compels us, our leaders, and all human beings to do the right thing and to love and care for Mother Earth. Now just for a moment, just acknowledge the divine in each other. I encourage you to envision all your friends and loved ones and all of those whom you consider a part of your spiritual community. Feel yourself expressing love toward these individuals, beholding the divine presence within each of them. So it is.
When I watch the news, it makes me cry for all of the anger I see. So many souls believing the lie that hatred is all they can be. So I take the chance to offer my prayer, to whisper the truth. And I believe today is the day that my message gets through. That we are all children of the God of love. We are all meant to be instruments of peace. There's no us or them, foe or friend. We are all the same. There is only one, 'cause everyone is born with God's name. So the question becomes, where do we start? How do we heal so much pain? The answer is clear. We open our hearts and let love wash away every stain. 'Cause peace in our time begins with a smile, with one open hand. And when we teach by example, the world is sure to understand. There's no us or them, foe or friend. We are all the same. There is only one, 'cause everyone is born with God's name. Sometimes it seems so useless to try, so futile to dream. But remember, the power of creation lies in what we believe. 'Cause we are all children of the God of love. We are all so meant to be instruments of peace. There's no us or them, foe or friend. We are all the same. There is only one, 'cause everyone is born with God's name. God's name. God's name. God's name.
Thank you, God. That's beautiful. I think that you honor Faith Rivera with that Child of the Universe song so immensely. It's just, I'm still very, very moved, and here I am trying to talk about joy, and I'm like wanting to cry. But sometimes we cry when we're joyful, don't we? I wore my joyful clothes. I figured at least you won't fall asleep maybe, but it makes me feel joyful to be in these clothes. But I must admit, when I first decided to talk about joy, it was in December or something. And I did the talk right around New Year's. I think it was the first Sunday of the year. And that was called Bringing the Light. And then this was going to be kind of like chapter 2, Finding Joy or Cultivating Joy. And it just so happened that other things came to play, and we didn't end up having that talk in March. And so when Wendy told me she needed someone to be here on 4th of July, I'm like, I'm not sure joy is really appropriate right now. It feels, sort of sacrilegious. It feels like there's so many more serious, so many more important things that we need to talk about, and all these things that are in our hearts right now. And so I struggled a little bit, and then it kind of dawned on me as like kind of maybe what we're lacking is joy. Maybe what we're needing more than anything is how do we cultivate joy, and how can we keep that fullness, keep that sacred joy in our centers all the time, so that we're more able now to respond to all of those other things that are just really weighing heavy on our hearts. So I was even more affirmed that joy was the right thing to talk about when I read this little story on Facebook this week. Sometimes I just want to stop talking COVID, protests, looting, brutality. I lose my way, become convinced that this new normal is real life. But then I met an 87-year-old who talks of living through polio, diphtheria, Vietnam, protests, and yet is still enchanted with life. He seemed surprised when I said that 2020 must be especially challenging for him. No, he said slowly, looking me straight in the eye. I learned a long time ago not to see the world through the printed headlines. I see the world through the people that surround me. I see the world with the realization that we love big. Therefore, I just choose to write my own headlines. Husband loves wife today. Family drops everything to come to Grandma's bedside. And he patted my hand. Old man makes new friend. His words collide with my worries, freeing from the tether I had been holding tightly. They float away. I am left with a renewed spirit. My headline now reads, Woman Overwhelmed by the Spirit of Joy, and the reminder that our capacity to love is never ending. So this man, the spirit of this man is resounding joy. So I invite you to consider what is your headline. And maybe remind yourself each day, what is your headline? Anyone have any thoughts, anything that touched you this week? What would be your headline? Ideas? Well, one of my headlines certainly is that song reminded me that we are all children of the universe, right? Beautiful music encourages me. That's a wonderful headline. I was born with God's name. That's a great headline. So anyway, take that home with you, and I invite you to consider as you're faced with the printed headlines, whether they're in newsprint or electronic headlines, you can invent your own headlines and find those things that bring you joy. So the difference between joy and happiness is an important distinction. What I'm really trying to relay is this inner quality of joy. And it seems like happiness is more of a response to things that happen outside of us. It's like something that fulfills me or something that inspires me that comes from outside. But joy is really this quality that we can foster, that we can cultivate. And joy is something that you can continue to feel this inner sense of joy even when things go wrong or when things outside of you are depressing or sad or worrisome or concerning. So joy is something that I'm really talking about. We need to have a way to keep it fulfilled, keep that inner cup overflowing with joy so that we have the ability then to respond in joy, because the temptation is to respond in other ways, right? Especially now. So we need to really be that model of how do we cultivate joy, and then how do we share that joy? Just like the example of that Facebook story, right? So Desjardins, the mystical Jesuit, said that joy is the infallible sign of the presence of God. And so that's what I'm sensing when I think about this quality of joy. It's like this God center that is full, this God center that is you are so plugged into that you just are able to draw from that place of energy and respond to things in joy, no matter what it is. Joy is an internal attitude. So more importantly, joy can be sustained in both positive and negative circumstances. So it's not really an outcome. It's more of a cog in the wheel. It's more a part of your energetic center that allows you to respond from spirit. And joy has to come from a place of okayness, from enoughness. So when I did my first talk, that was like planting the seed to be able to cultivate joy, because it was about bringing the light. And it was really all about making sure that you know that you are always okay. You are always enough. You don't ever have to criticize yourself or be concerned about not being perfect or not being good enough or not being ready to express God. It's always there, and it's always there for you, and you need to not feel less than in order to receive it. And that's how joy is too. You need to know that you deserve joy. You deserve joy. And not only that, joy, which is the spiritual quality, joy deserves you. So I grew up, of course, in this religion that was not very much equated with joyfulness, and feeling joy almost made me feel guilty. Like, who am I to be happy? You know, look at all these poor people in Bangladesh, right? remember all the poor kids in Bangladesh that were starving. So it was like this constant message that religion really is about serving, and then when you die, you get to have joy, right? But it was not something that we should be so boastful to think that we deserve to have joy now, because, no, that's just what happens when you die. But we need to get over that. We need to get past that, because we need to have this inner capability, the sense of inner fullness, in order to actually have that spiritual quality of joy. I can remember when I was new to Unity, some of us might remember Alan Cohen. Alan Cohen is a spiritual writer, and he came and visited Spokane a few times, and he led a lot of Unity retreats back in those days. And so he wrote this book that's called Joy is My Compass. And I actually remember thinking, well, that's kind of selfish. Joy is my compass. No, my compass needs to be serving the poor or healing, finding a cure to cancer or something more noble than that. But anyway, so Alan authored this book, and he writes in the book that at the time, what we call near-death experiences were trendy. And so Alan writes, I have been inspired to set my own research institute. I am studying people who have come very close to living. Rumor has it that there are a number of people now walking on the earth who have crossed the threshold and see what it would actually be like to be alive. I want to meet these people, find out who they are, learn how they think and feel, and discover what it is that would actually cause someone to be joy-filled while in a body. The Institute will boldly put aside the age-old question, is there life after death, and seek instead to answer the even more pressing need to know, is there life before death? How many really live before they die? So I invite you to take that on as your mantra. I will live before I die. I am determined to live before I die. In fact, that's what we're here for, right? We are here to be the presence of God on the planet. And if we're not filled with joy and fully alive, we cannot fulfill that duty. So in Unity, we have this phrase. It's actually an acronym. I hope some of you know this. O-P-O-P-G-G-O. Have you heard that? There's one presence and one power and one activity in my life and in the universe. God the good, omnipotent. We don't say that nearly enough anymore. We need to bring that back. There's only one presence and one power and one activity in my life and in the universe. God the good, omnipotent. And I think if we lived from that sense of that state of consciousness or that presence of being, we would be joy-filled all the time. And we would be doing things that bring us joy. That would be a priority in our lives, because that's what we need in order to fulfill our role as being the presence of God on the planet. Are you with me? Are you? So I really think that if we take on this belief, we will move mountains. So in Unity, we teach that the concept of sin is really being separated from God. And so anytime that we do not have this consciousness of being one with God, then we are in sin, right? And so Charles Fillmore, one of his more controversial sayings was that it's a sin to be poor. And what he meant by that is if you are centered in God, you will never feel poor in spirit. You will never feel that you are lacking. Well, I think that it's a sin to not be in joy. And I think that that is the essence, that effervescence, if you will, that allows us to really be fully charged and fully capable and ready to bring that presence of God into our world. So Brene Brown, who some of you probably know, she studies vulnerability and she's been in a lot of TED Talks and things. She writes this about joy. I never talk about gratitude and joy separately for this reason. In 12 years, I've never interviewed a single person who would describe their lives as joyful who has not been actively practicing gratitude. So the gratitude, essentially, she's saying, is a precursor to joy. It's a necessary ingredient. She writes further, we are a nation hungry for more joy because we're starving from a lack of gratitude. Does that resonate with you? If we don't allow ourselves to experience joy and love, we will definitely miss out on filling our reservoir with what we need when hard things happen. Joy over time fuels resilience. So having an active practice of gratitude is a very simple thing. There's a lot of ways that you could fulfill that, but I would say that one that I've done a lot is I have a gratitude journal, and when I go to bed at night, I read this list of things that I'm grateful for, and a lot of times I write more things that I'm grateful for. Another thing would just be in your meditation to really focus on gratitude, really bring to mind these things that you're grateful for. And this was really something that was important in my life when I was being treated for cancer. I really had a hard time. I would really think about Myrtle Fillmore and all of her healing and how she would pray about her body and she would bless her body and say, oh, so thankful for you, my lungs, and I'm so thankful for my heart. And she would see herself, see her body, and all of those meditation times she would be doing these affirmations, and she would make these statements about how strong and healthy her body was, and then she would envision that about her body. Well, I had a hard time believing that to be true about my body. So I think if you're affirming one thing but you're really not believing it, it's like it's not going to really be a very effective prayer. So I really had to struggle. I found some things. I tell my sister-in-law, who's now dealing with a health challenge, I said, even if your little pinky finger works perfectly, say, thank you for my little pinky finger. Whatever it is. With me, I had been mentally challenged much of my life with this thought of inheriting heart disease because my father died at age 47 of a massive heart attack. And so that year when I turned 47, it was particularly challenging for me. But when I was diagnosed with cancer, I had to have this heart test. It's a imaging procedure, and they actually measure the flow of the blood going in and coming out of your heart. Because if you have to have chemotherapy, your heart has to be working fairly effectively. Well, my heart was working amazingly for my age, and I was just like dumbfounded. I thought that was just so cool. It's like, wow, all this time I've been telling myself I'm going to die from heart disease. Well, that's probably not one of the things I'll die from. But anyway, so I just held on to that. I just praised my body and my heart, and I could then see my heart, taking the blood through my body and then healing my body, and I could see, so that was like the beginning that I could actually believe in. So you have to find what is it that you can believe in that you are truly, truly grateful for. And there's so many things. I mean, even where we live, right? It is so beautiful, and we are so fortunate, and there's so many things available to us, and we have this natural environment that takes us just to this place of awe. So, encourage yourself every day to find what it is that you're grateful for. And really, really let that nourish your spirit, because that will foster joy. And so then, how do you cultivate joy? You have to do things that are joyful. And you have to do things for you. For you. And you have to be a priority to do things that are joyful. And so some of you already know what that is. People who are involved in music, that's a perfect thing to bring you joy, provided it's not, doesn't need to be perfect. You don't have to, it's like you're doing it for fun, right? So don't beat yourself up. And provided you're not having to be performing and worried about what people are thinking. And so it's like your mind can still take it away from you, even if you're doing this wonderful, joyful thing. Your mind can take it away from you if you're thinking, oh, I made a mistake, or oh, well, that wasn't quite right, or oh, what do I look like, or all that stuff we do. So I found the thing that is my joy, and I kind of found it by accident. But again, after I was done being treated for cancer, I was having this kind of mental cloudy brain, and so I had read somewhere that dancing, and especially if you're learning new dances, like if you're continually using your brain in dancing, that it can really improve your cognition. And so I read this article in a local health magazine that there was this tap dancing group, and so I thought, okay, I'm going to go tap dance to help my brain function better. Well, that was a perfectly good reason to go tap dancing, but I discovered that it's moving my body. I've never really been, exercise, are you kidding me? Oh, don't make me do that. I could exercise, I would walk a lot and things like that, but it wasn't like I enjoyed it. I did it because I had to, right? But it's this movement of the body. And then I found out later that it's like in tap dancing, the sound of the rhythm in the taps is like hitting that little brain center that's telling you, yeah, you did that right, you did that right. It's like, does anybody ever train a dog and you use that little clicker? Well, it's the same thing. The tap dance is that little clicker. And you're saying, good job, dog, right? So it's enforcing that joy and that feeling of fulfillment in dancing. And so for me, moving my body in this rhythmic way, it doesn't feel at all like exercise. It feels like pure joy. It feels like I am just melding with that music. Now, there's other people that tap dance with me that I don't think it is pure joy for them. I think it's more of a mental, challenge, and they want to take on the challenge, and they want to learn these really difficult things. So tap dancing wouldn't do it for everybody, but something is your thing, and you have to find what that thing is, and you have to do it. And I would encourage you to consider movement might be one of them, because when we get older, we tend to not move so much, right? And I would even think if you can move your hands like this, I'm telling you, that is a joyful feeling. If you stand and move your hands like this, if you do it in the mirror every day, I'm telling you, try it. This is magnificent. That's a start, right? And now you've got one step of the dance. So whatever that dance is for you, maybe it's music. If you loved music when you were a kid and you were just singing all the time, try singing. Sing it to yourself. It doesn't have to be for anybody else, but find what that thing is. I went and bought myself a ukulele because I used to play guitar. I used to play piano a little, but a ukulele is just about joy, right? That sound of it, the rhythm of it, and there's just mostly fun songs. I went and got a ukulele, and now I'm enjoying that with my granddaughter. But it's like, try whatever it is. Keep trying until you find that thing. And it might be yoga, it might be some meditative practice, whatever it is that really brings you joy, and it feels like you're sort of spoiling yourself, right? You're doing something that's just for you. So don't do it for anybody but you, but find what that thing is and do it. And I can't even tell you how much it's changed my life, that I know how movement works for me. And I mean, I can dance in my living room. I don't have to go to a class or anything. I can do it for myself. I can do it with my grandchildren. And believe me, I do. So go and find that thing and do it. So I have a story to share, and this is a man who was very joy-filled and centered in joy because he was a musician. And he happened to live in Sarajevo, the former Yugoslavia. And in May of 1992, during the siege of Sarajevo, there was a particular town square where people would go and they'd line up to get bread because food was very scarce. So there was this big long line of people standing to get bread, and there was a big mortar shells hitting a group of people that were waiting to get bread. So 22 people were killed and more than 70 were injured on that day. So in 1992, not very many people in our country even knew where Yugoslavia was or had ever heard the name of Sarajevo. It was just a very obscure, of course it was one of the former Soviet republics, but when the Russian Soviet Socialist Republic broke apart, Yugoslavia kind of went into this massive, it was mostly a religious war, civil war. This man, Vedran Smilovic, was a cellist in the city. He played in the symphony, and he was deeply disturbed. The next day he came to that spot and began to play his cello. He had not planned this, but he did it instinctively, and as people gathered around him, there was a sense of healing. Each day he returned to the spot for 22 days, honoring the 22 that were killed. He played the same piece each day. There were snipers in the hills, and the cellist could have been killed in it at any time, but he played on. So for another 2 years, he started to play in different places. But this story caught on, and there was many people who wrote books about this. People wrote music about it. The New York Symphony played that same piece in his honor. The Seattle Symphony, same thing. So it changed our awareness of that whole part of the world. And so even though he didn't really change the outcome of the war, he took his gift, which was joy-filled as a musician, and he really allowed everyone to witness what was happening in that part of the world, and he changed all of our awareness. And he brought hope and joy to many, many people. So that's just an illustration of how if you are full of joy, it changes how you respond to negative things. So I invite you to love yourself enough to embrace joyous activities. And may your joy fill your being with holiness. And may your holiness bless the earth and all of creation. So thank you. Amen.
Thank you, Dana. That was a very moving message, and I love the story at the end. Dan is somebody that I met here 20 years ago, I think, probably, and I went to a class at her house. And there was just 3 of us, Micah and Dan and me. I don't remember what the class was, but I've known her for a really long time, and I've always been inspired by you. Anyway, so what's next now? This is the time in our service that we collect our love offering. If you are joining us from home, I invite you to continually support the Unity Center of Divine Love and Light as we endeavor to fulfill our mission of touching hearts and transforming lives. There are a number of ways that you can share your financial support. If you wish to submit a donation online, simply pull up our website on your browser, www.theunitycenter.org, and click on the Donate button at the top of the screen. You will have the option to pay via credit card or PayPal. If you prefer to send your donation by mail, address your envelope to Unity Center at Post Office Box 28127, Spokane, Washington, 99228. You can also arrange with your bank to provide ongoing financial support through the bank's bill pay service. We give because it is our nature to give, and I thank you for your consideration. Join me in affirming our love offering statement. Divine love in, through, and as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am joyful.
You know this one.
Thankful, I'm thankful, yes indeed. Thankful, I'm thankful, yes indeed. I'm so glad that I can see, thankful, yes indeed. And know God's watching for me, thankful, yes indeed. Listen to the words I say, thankful, yes indeed. God will help us every day, thankful, yes indeed. I'm thankful, yes indeed. Thankful, I'm thankful, yes indeed. You don't have to run and hide, thankful, yes indeed. God is right there by your side, thankful, yes indeed. It's as plain as it can be, thankful, yes indeed. God takes care of you and me, thankful, yes indeed. Thankful, I'm thankful, yes indeed. Thankful, I'm thankful, yes indeed. We don't have to do without, thankful, yes indeed. It's enough to make you shout, thankful, yes indeed. Thankful, I'm thankful, yes indeed. Thankful, I'm thankful, yes indeed. I'm thankful, yes indeed. Thankful, I'm thankful, yes indeed. One more time. Thankful, I'm thankful, yes indeed. Thankful, I'm thankful, yes indeed.
Oh, too much saliva. That was funny. Michael's he's probably watching and going, oh, Lord.
Well, that was certainly a joyful song.
It was.
Thank you.
That was.
So I don't know, are there any announcements for the good of
I
the order?
have one, actually.
Well, there we go.
I am just so pleased that Chris is with us today. So let's give him a round of applause. It's such a great help for
I second
to have
that.
Another musician who is helping handle rhythm is just great. Thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you.
Yeah.
Okay, if you have a specific prayer request, please leave a message on the main church phone, which is 509-489-6964. Our prayer team will be happy to pray with and for you and your loved ones. All prayer requests will be prayed on for 30 days by both our prayer team and by Silent Unity. We truly look forward to that time when we are all back in the sanctuary celebrating together. But until that time, we invite you to join us again next week, either on the virtual platform or in person. The guest speaker will be David McClure. Now I invite you to stand and join us in the peace song.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with
So as we close our service today, we offer you the prayer of protection, after which we will close with the peace song. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.